Okay, let's go and look at that head and shoulders pattern from 2007, 2008, and I'll show you how beautifully it telegraphed the crash. These patterns don't have to be symmetrical. I'm just going to start by putting the trend line on. I just started doing technical analysis. So back in 2007, I'd been in financial markets for 20 years, but I had actually stopped trading on behalf of other companies where I would get a commission. I'd had enough of trading options. When you trade options as a market maker, you can end up with positions on dozens of strikes over 2 or 3 months. You never ever have a flat book. So every time I went on holiday or over the weekends, I was constantly worried about what might happen because I always had risk on. So many times I'd be on holiday and then something would kick off and I'd spend the whole day on the beach just stressing. So I decided, right, that's it. I'm going to get into trading futures. And I immediately lost 30 grand because I didn't understand. I thought futures trading would be easier and it wasn't. It was a completely different skill set. And I also thought trading on the screen wouldn't be as hard as it was when I'd been a relatively successful floor trader. So I started doing technical analysis maybe 6 months before putting it into practice. And I'm watching this chart and I'm thinking, this looks like a huge head and shoulders pattern. You've got to bear in mind that I'm looking at this on the weekly chart, but when you're studying the daily chart, it's 5 times bigger. So it was huge. This pattern started to build from the end of February up until this big red candle here to the end of December. So look, it's a 10 or 11 month pattern. It's big. You can't ignore it. I'd managed to land a bunch of bank clients back then, Deutsche Bank, Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, and there's me just telling them that the stock market's going to crash, and I don't think they really believed me. So we'd just been in an enormous bull run from 2000 and from the crash of the internet bubble. So we've been in a 6 or 7 year bull run. There was no indication at all there was anything wrong with the economy. So when I'm here starting to talk about a stock market crashing, people thought I was nuts. But it was very simple. We had a big head and shoulders pattern. Left shoulder, big shoulder. Head, right shoulder. On the weekly chart, we did not even bother to pause at the neckline. We just went straight through it. Unfortunately, I can't show you on the daily chart because the data won't go back that far. Now, this is quite typical of a head and shoulders pattern to try to retest the neckline. We couldn't get there. It was the 100-week and the 50-week moving averages, which had turned to resistance levels, and then bang, down we went. So these patterns are great. When they work, they really work. You could have made enough to retire if you had a big short position on here. We collapsed 660 area, an enormous move to the downside.